Welcome to Intelligent Human Leadership, leading yourself and your team. Do you ever find yourself grappling with a lack of confidence in your team? Or battling the relentless waves of concern and fear? Are the pressures to meet client expectations and the burden of missed opportunities weighing you down? On this podcast, you'll discover the strategies and insights that will reignite your team's morale and help you find the harmony and knowledge you seek to propel your business forward. Here, we explore innovative ways to reignite your creative spirit and achieve greatness, empowering you to lead with intelligence, compassion, and resilience. If you're ready to dive deep into your core of leadership challenges and be guided toward success, here's your host, founder of Steward Your Business, David Carr.
All right. Thank you so much for coming back on the Intelligent Human Leadership podcast, where we're here to lead ourselves well so that we can have others follow along. We want to be that most intelligent human leader. We're not going to be supplanted by AI. Technology is certainly important out there, but you as an individual leader, building relationships every day is going to make a world of difference in number one, yourself, and of course, your family, your coworkers, those people that you have influence in your life. We are picking up on part 2 of the hiring for passion, dealing with passionate people. How do we incorporate those folks into our companies, into our lives, and not just checking boxes? You know, when we're looking about leaders, we want to have a multiplication, a multiplier, if you will, in our effect. We're not here to burn out. It's not about exhaustion, but it's really about how do we lead effectively. And part of that is building your team. That's, as you guys know, I'm very passionate about with Steward Your Business, is how do we build strong, sustainable teams that help the business, the organization grow. And part of that is hiring for passion. It's not that we talked about this in our last episode. It's not that technical skills aren't important. They are. But we wanted to focus in on here is identifying and hiring with a purpose, being very intentional in the way you're hiring and not just filling seats, but really finding people that amplify your mission and getting the work done that you've been called to be a part of, wherever that might be for you and your journey and your company. And you don't have to be the owner. You might be leading a group. It's bringing people into your group as a group manager, a director, a leader in your company. How are you bringing those people in, and how will you be more successful in the long run? So if you missed part 1, go back and listen to it. You'll still get value out of this episode, but you'll get more value if you go back to the last episode of the Intelligent Human Leadership podcast and listen to that, about where we talked about how it's important that as a leader that we are hiring correctly and what's the cost of hiring the wrong people. In today's episode, we're going to dive deeper into looking beyond just skills, hiring beyond just skills, and how do we as leaders fix this problem? How do we identify, passionate people in the hiring process? I was just working with a client. We were going through a series of questions, screening interview questions. Something that I do is I help organizations and teams look at bringing people in and making sure we're asking the right questions. We're getting the right people in the right place in the team. Any of you have played sports? That's a great analogy. Is getting all the players in the right positions to win successfully. You might have a good player on the team, but they're not in the right position, and they may not be playing to their full potential. Certainly not passionate or playing out as they would maybe in a different position. So this is something we can also look at even post hire. Is where is your team at? And how can we help empower and your team to draw out the passion. Here's a great question, a mission-driven question that you can ask is, what excites you about the work you're currently doing, or the work that you're applying for, or the position you're applying for? What is it that excites you? What gets you up and going? And if you're not getting an energetic response, a curious response, or an alignment, or even hopefully they're even speaking to the values that you hold as a company, if they don't already know them, that they're aware of them. I actually did this in competitive interviews, not for me as an individual, but where I would be presenting. We prepared a proposal. We're going to in front of an agency, whether this be a public agency. Generally, that's where I dealt with a lot of them, Caltrans or a particular county agency. And we would talk about why we're passionate about this work. Why did we go after this? Why did we put a proposal together? Why did we put all this information together? And wanting to serve this client, and that thing is really important. Why do you want this work? Why do you want to go there? What is it that gets you up, every morning, right? To get up and to possibly have to drive in, or, spend time away from your family. And so look for these passionate responses. Look for real signs of commitment and not rehearsed answers. Some people can give you rehearsed answers. They can give you a script. Some people are actually really good at that. And some people interview very well, candidly, but they're not really great performers. So these are some ways that we can get in and find out, are they truly passionate? Another question I would throw out there is, what problems in this industry frustrate you? Start with there. Just start with that question. Like, what are the things that frustrate you? What are the things that bring you challenge, and that you see maybe could be done in a different way? Do they have suggestions or ideas on how to solve these problems? Or are they just complaining about them? Listen for their response. We want to ask being curious, asking questions of others really helps gauge where they're at and what they're going to bring to your organization, to your company, to your team, your individuals. Here's the thing, no matter how good the person is that you're bringing in, there's going to be a storm of change. And I'll do another episode on that. And I've talked about this in past episodes, but of anybody, even the great person, is going to cause some change and disruption within the group and the people you have here. But if you're hiring in a passionate way, in a can-do way, and I want to get things done, I want to help work together with what's going on, and see what they come up with. If they're not clearly excited, and they can't speak to some of the challenges that they faced, or that are readily apparent, that you've dealt with over the course of the years in your field. For me, I'll give you an example. I do a lot of stuff with databases in the past. And we've had challenges with, like, how do we put all this stuff together in a clear report or document? And so sharing, like, what your frustrations are, because there may be ways of, like, oh, we know we're having that same problem and we want to be able to fix this, or how, what have you done to solve that problem in the past? That energy and enthusiasm can be a great asset to your company, but also be a great drain if they don't have that. If they're always just looking at problems and that never works, or I don't really have any solutions to the problem. Start engaging them and look at their energy. Are they curious? They're like, well, I haven't had that problem before, but I had this problem. Are they speaking in ways that align with the company values and the mission and the vision about where the company is going? Or is there a miss there? And I would encourage you to pick at that. As we go through and we look at that and we get at hiring with this purpose and looking for that passion, this will help us not get trapped in the kind of the perfect resume or the pedigree that the person comes from. I've seen this in the past where you have looked at somebody's resume and they present well in a kind of untested way. meaning, just looking at maybe on paper what they say, but then looking deeper. I was talking with a client about this just recently. We were looking at a resume and we're looking at an individual, and that they looked from the surface, it checked the boxes, okay? And they had some project management experience and some baseline, but then I looked deeper and I said, what would other people say about this person? And references are always good, helpful, obviously, to get some feedback. Generally, though, remember, references that somebody provides you is they're going to be speaking because they've had a good experience, or at least not super negative one. So references are already kind of filtered, if you will. But look beyond baseline skills here. We want to look at what motivation is. What motivates them to do what they do. Because I've seen people be hired and very technically savvy. They actually have more than the baseline skills, but they were very toxic in the way that they talked with other people, the way that they interacted, not only with their fellow employees, but even clients, because they had this sense of superiority, the sense of they needed some kind of affirmation for themselves. So look for things where people are needing that outside validation, and they don't have it from inside already, a passion that drives them. If they're needing to be if their tank is empty, if you will, right? It's going to be hard to pour into your business if they're already, drawn out. Now, it's not to say we all have times in life where our tanks are empty, so to speak. But we want to come from a reservoir of abundance. I've talked about this in past episodes too, where we're looking not just from the outside, but we're looking from the inside, honestly, of welling up. And are we coming from a fullness and understanding and appreciating who we are? That's one of the things I do. For those of you that are interested, I have a 5 Voices boot camp that I run almost every month. You can go to bootcamp.stewardyourbusiness.com to learn more about it. But understanding and appreciating who you are and what you bring to the table. Passionate people know that, and they value who they are. And in turn, if you're valuing your voice, and this is why you're an intelligent human leader listening to this podcast, then you can actually appreciate the other voices that are different than yours. As you have this passion, and you can adapt because the passion fuels this. You learn that you're going to learn how to appreciate others and the passions and the focuses that they bring. A driven person is going to outlearn a disengaged expert every time. You can see this in sports. There's always an easier one, but more visible to see people that are actually doing the hard work, driven. And now it's harder for them sometimes. They naturally don't have the skills, the quote unquote skills, the technical skills maybe, or just they haven't developed them. But they can, if they are consistent, they can win in the end. The tortoise and the hare is a great story, right? Where the hare was so much faster. He knew how to do all this stuff, but he was disengaged. He knew how to run the race. He knew the mechanics. But in the end, the tortoise kept being persistent and kept going because he was like, I'm going to get to the end. I'm going to make it to the finish line. And do you have people that you surround yourself with that are that engaged? Then that's going to make a huge difference to your bottom line, your profitability, and whatever you're pursuing is when you have people that are aligned like that. That's what I love organizations. You see organizations that are on fire, and they want to achieve a goal, and everybody's in alignment to do this. You're going to go much further and have greater impact. And you're going to be able to adapt when things come and change, and they inevitably will. There'll be hurdles. There'll be roadblocks. How are you going to handle them? Right? The 80-20 Pareto principle hiring rule is that, we want to prioritize the passion and problem solving over a perfect resume. But here's the trap. Here's the trap that I find is we look at that, we kind of check the boxes, and we don't read between the lines. And we don't see the passion on the paper sometimes as easily as the kind of perfect resume or the check boxes. With AI and technology now, we can come up with all sorts of like quote unquote perfect resume. But what we're looking for is the problem solving, that drive to improve, to innovate, to stretch. The reality is, if we're striving for those things, we're going to fail. It's not if, we're going to fail. We're going to have challenges. Passionate people push through the challenges. Passionate people are going to overcome those. If you're an expert, you're trying to get everything just right, and you can't fail. You're going to hold back. You're going to be risk averse. You're not going to take the challenges that may be necessary to really grow individually and as a company. And so I want you to think about this, in that your investment isn't just, hiring passionate people, but it's leading yourself. We talked about this last time, in leading with passion. And I'll ask you to just kind of reflect again. Where are you in the passion of your life? Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being the most passionate, and 1 being completely burned out and really have lost any real passion. Now, this happens to all of us. We're all on a journey and a spectrum, and none of us are, going to be at a 10 all the time, and hopefully none of us are going to stay at a 1 or a 0. We're going to be in a spectrum there, but hopefully it's moving in the direction of a 10 more regularly than it's not. But this is a good question for you, because if you're not living in a place of passion daily and it's driving you, it's going to be really hard to deal with the real hurdles, the real challenges that will inevitably come in life, whether it's in your business or your personal life. And you'll probably shut down. You'll disengage. You won't make the progress. You won't have the wins. You won't be able to celebrate the milestones, because you've just tried to rely on just maybe purely technical skills, and not and tools and systems and processes are very much needed. Don't get me wrong, but those need to be married with a fuel, a passion. Using a car analogy, right? Your car has amazing systems, and you have to put some kind of energy source into it, whether it's electric, gas, whatever that might be. There has to be some kind of energy that comes in there. And that, of course, energy is spent, right? It doesn't stay static. We are people, we're vessels, if you will, that need to be refilled. And it's looking for people that are refilled, that they're built, stoking the passion. Any fire has to be added to, has to be maintained, or it will go out. It'll go cold. And so it's marrying the passion with those skills, those baseline technical skills we need to have. Look for those people, or look for the people that, again, maybe they don't have as many technical skills yet, but they can be trained, they can be developed, and you can coach them. Being coachable is really important. I just recorded a podcast on the Business Roundtable last night. We were talking about being coachable. Again, welcome you to go listen to the Business Roundtable podcast. It's my other podcast where I have other guests on there. Love to have you guys follow along there too. But what I want to leave you with today on the podcast is recognizing that hiring for skills alone is going to lead to disengagement, turnover, and lost momentum in your organization. And that is really hard to overcome if it starts to snowball and to recover from. It's not that you can't, and this is where I can come in and help you with steward your business and making sure your team is getting into alignment and minimizing turnover. It's very costly to hire new people, to train them, to get them up to speed. It's much better to maintain who you have in an organization if they truly are passionate. And some people do need to move on, but we want to build on momentum. And as you build that momentum, that's going to help your company grow and sustain. Really, passion is the greatest predictor of success. It fuels growth, like I mentioned, gives you adaptability, even brings in ownership of I'm engaged. I've got skin in the game. This is important to me. And so, look back. Would you hire yourself based on the energy and clarity you bring or not? Because remember, you're leading As the intelligent human leader, you're the one that sets the standard. You're the one that goes first. You're the one that other people look at. And how are you showing up on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, quarterly, ongoing, day in, day out? Are you bringing it? Are you bringing the passion? Are you bringing the focus? Are you bringing the clarity, saying this is important and this is where we want to achieve? Are you building up your team members? Do you know how to do that? Maybe you're struggling with that. Maybe you don't know how quite to speak their language. That's okay. I've got tools and resources here, and the podcast is just one of them. I can't solve all the problems on the podcast, but I want to empower you with some thoughts and resources to consider how to help you along your journey. As a leader, your vision and passion sets the tone about who you're going to attract, and that's going to go to the rest of your team and those people that want to be a part of the journey, a part of what you're creating. This is so important, and why I want you to help be the healthiest leader in the room. It will be contagious in a good way. It will build community and culture, one that you're proud of and thankful to be a part of. And I can wholeheartedly affirm in you that hiring for passion with those technical baseline skills is going to serve you much better than just a technical expert, somebody that can check the boxes or the resume looks good. So, where to go from here? I invite you to sign up for my 5 Voices Bootcamp, Understanding Your Leadership Voice, where we do a deeper dive, absolutely free, bootcamp.stewardyourbusiness.com. I have a discovery clarity call where we can actually see where you're at with your business, where we're at with your hiring process, to help you move things forward. The thing is, you have a passionate leader in David Carr, or Steward Your Business, an advocate. That's why I come with a podcast every week for you. Share this with another leader who's struggling with hiring. Encourage them today to know that they're not alone. And of course, subscribe. Stay part of what we're doing here in the Intelligent Human Leadership Podcast. Go check out the Business Roundtable podcast. Connect with me on any of the social media platforms. We'd love to hear from you. Drop in comments, feedback, and whatever the platform is that you like. This is on YouTube, LinkedIn, Amazon, Apple, all of those fun platforms, music, Spotify. I'm grateful that you guys are following along in the journey, and sharing your passion and what inspires you on a daily basis. I appreciate you guys being here with me again on the Intelligent Human Leadership Podcast. Until next time, take care, be well, and get after them and have an amazing day. Thanks everybody for listening.